Hello and welcome everyone. I'm Jake, aka Sysbit, and with me today is...
I am Sasha, aka Masterswiiift. I'm coach of the Swansea City.
Oh yeah, I'm Coach of the Buffalo Bills, if anyone cares. They probably don't, but Anyway, this is GPC Week Recap Week 2. We're only sort of behind this week. We're only almost 2 weeks behind, so we're making
Yeah, we're,
progress.
we're in week 4, and this is the week 2 analysis.
Shh,
We'll get there
no
eventually.
one needs a hater. No one needs that nonsense, dude. No one needs any objective insults or anything like that. No one
Hopefully
needs that.
we'll have caught up by the end of this week.
Hopefully, yeah, we should be caught up very soon.
hmm
But that's on here now or whatnot. Right here, we're supposed to be analyzing week 2. So as you can see on the screen, you can see all the win losses, and they were all pretty close. 0 and 2s or 0 and 3s at best. No one really got body bagged and all that. Just pretty interesting.
there was a Pokemon that did some body bagging, but in terms of overall score, there was no real
Yeah,
domination.
that is true. We'll get to that later. But there was one Pokemon that definitely was unquestionably the MVP
MVP of week 2, I think we can call it.
of the league so far. I think it leads the league in kills, which is pretty hard to beat at this point. But
Yeah.
anyway, we'll get to that very soon. The first match is Tom, aka DeRizzle, coach of the Knoxville Bearticks, versus Rippin Pierre or Restin Pierre or R.I.
Rest,
Pierre. I still have no idea how he wants us to say that, and I haven't calls to
Rectin
ask him.
Pierre. Rectin Pierre, I think we can go with. His draft is scary, so it's stupid.
Anyway, and he's coach of the VC Restaurants.
Yes.
So this match was actually a pretty darn good match. I think DeRizzle went a little harsh on himself. He played pretty well. He did a lot of early work with Entei, which really pressured Restin Pierre's team because
Yes.
he only had one switch into Sacred Fire, and it got burnt on the first try.
hmm that's yeah. The early match, I think Tom really handled Pierre well. I think where it switched around was around mid-match,
The only
where
questionable play I think he made in the early part is he didn't go for Stick You Up and Galvantula. I'm not sure if he had it this week. I don't remember if he brought it or not, but it would have really helped him versing Pierre's team
yes,
because
and
not a lot of Pierre's team can float.
it would have pressured Altaria into when it megas as well,
Exactly.
and
And it would have,
Meloette's got speed.
and if he could have got that up, once he got rid of T-Tar, he could have really wrecked Pierre's team with Sacred Fire. He had
hmm
nothing to swap in on it anymore.
Yep, I
So,
agree.
one of the changing points for the match is when Pierre uses the league rule that no one's really exploited yet till this point, where we said you don't have to Mega Evolve immediately, or at all. If
hmm
you drafted multiple Megas, in theory, you could not Mega Evolve one of them ever, or not both if you're really
Yes,
weird.
if this was a different league and you had to Mega Evolve T1, I believe Entei has Ironhead and it went for it, but it
It
didn't.
does.
Altaria did not Mega.
So it was only
So
an 80 power move.
yeah, it did 40% rather than 80%.
So Pierre really did exploit that rule very effectively right there. And that's probably the
Yes,
first time I've seen it actually really effectively used.
it's what killed the Entei, and Entei was, you could call it the win condition against Pierre's team.
A lot. You could argue that that one play really actually changed the swing of the match. Like, as you said, it was about mid-game when the match started going back into Pierre's favor.
hmm
The other
He
thing that
killed.
really hurt Drizzle here, and I think he's mentioned himself, his defensive core was just kind of weak. Golbat's an alright to augment one, but if you're using a Golbat and a Quagsire to handle as much raw power as Pierre has, you're just not going to get far.
Yes, they're very good mons, but the threats that Pierre has, they're very they're
They're low
powerful. And there's
tier,
a
and
reason that yeah, there's a reason what Pierre's threats were high tier, and they killed off the low tier walls that Tom brought.
exactly.
Uh,
And then
so
eventually,
yeah,
Reston Pierre
once
uses Brazion to pop up Golbat with an HPS that he didn't expect seeing, and eventually
yeah,
Christina,
Entei was
that
the
annoying
first thing.
mascot of his, just is Assault Vest and bulks every single unbelievable hit and clinches him to 2-0.
Yeah, and Pierre kept putting up his hazards, trying to force the Golbat switch, which
Was really well played, to be honest.
hmm
Can't deny that either. I forgot about that, to be honest. But again, rest in Pierre for the second week in a row. His MVPs are his Mega Bird, and especially in this week, his Meloetta. Yeah, Mega Meloetta. Jeez, that's scary. Don't go there.
The match was closer in the end. It was only a 2-0, but I think once Entei had died, it would have been hard for Tom to come back.
Yeah, Mega Alexander might have been able to do it if he didn't have that Assault Fest Meloetta, but not likely. Would have been hard at least.
I was surprised that Landorus hardly did much work at all.
Sometimes the top threats aren't the top threats, and RU was really the MVP here.
Yep.
You never know. Leagues can be very interesting that way. But I think that's about the first match, so let's hop on the second one. And this is one we were alluding to earlier if you weren't aware. This is FC Evitan, coached by Kino, versus the Borussia Donphan, coached by El Cesar. And this is the match where the sexy bunny girl just does everything.
Yeah, this is where this is the match. If you want a showcase of what Mega Lopunny can do and how scary it can be, this is it. This is your evidence in full.
If you want a summary of this match, it's Kino stacking the rest of his team so that Mega Lopunny just gets 6 kills.
Pretty much. And El Cesar, he has a few counters to Mega Lopunny, but he couldn't mega his Mega Sceptile, which would have outsped. That didn't help him. And the Aerodactyl FC Evitan, yeah, that as well. And he tried to Tailwind, but it was stalled out with Fake Out and switches, so that didn't work either.
And it just outsped everything but Mega Sceptile until it megaed, so not much you could do about it. There isn't too much to say for this match, in my opinion, to be honest.
Yeah, it's just...
I don't Caesar played exceptionally well, to be honest. Getting that Tailwind up really could have screwed over Kino if he didn't have Fake Out, but he did. So that stalled out his turn. Then he could swap out. I think he sacks off Huron Black to a Aerodactyl Stone Edge.
I think Scissor did as much as he could to try and stop it, but it wasn't enough. He didn't make any particularly bad plays. It's just Lopunny did its thing.
And I think also what really you have to give credit to Kino, I don't think he brought standard Lopunny this week, Mega Lopunny. He brought a bulkier build using Drain Punch. If it did not have that Drain Punch for recovery, it would not have lasted as long, and it would have probably been a different game if he had brought, say, High Jump Kick.
Yes.
But he brought a bulkier threat, if I remember correctly, and Drain Punch, which he just kept using for longevity to keep healing himself up. I remember Kino telling me afterwards that he didn't go for Ice Punch on Mega Aerodactyl because he needed the HP to live a certain hit. I forget which hit it was. So he actually went for the Drain Punch, which saved his butt. So it can show that really the prep you make before a match can decide the winner beforehand sometimes.
Just a shame that Mega Lopunny hits 5 out of Scissor's 6 mons super effectively.
It's almost impossible to wall Lopunny without just raw bulk and not being weak to it. It's nearly impossible. It has perfect coverage, so to be fair.
Yeah, you just need great physical bulk.
Yeah, great physical bulk,
or you outspeed it.
Which is not an easy thing to pull off.
No, there was only a Mega Sceptile, which could have done it, but it didn't get its chance to set up.
I think that's probably the only thing I could fault El Cesar with, but when you look at the battle again, I don't really see where he could have done it. Kino's team is so offensive and fast without it.
Yes, it was. I wouldn't say on the back foot.
The only one he might have been able to pull it off on would have been the Shaman who died so early.
Yeah.
Or the Huron Black, which he just sacked off and didn't send in until it got sacked off. I don't really know what else he possibly could have really pulled off the Mega on. So, if that's the case and Kino purposely pressured so he could Mega, that's more hats off to Kino.
Yeah, he just kept up the offensive pressure, and Scissor was on the back foot from then on.
And like we were saying earlier, Lopunny got 6 kills, and as of week 2, definitely leads the league in kills.
Yeah, with those plus 6, yeah.
I think he had 1 the first week, and then went up to 7. Just, ugh. Sexy bunny girl, cannot mess with it at all. You cannot underestimate it, you cannot mess with it, you just have to be scared.
To respect its power.
But I think that's enough for the second match, and now we get into the match that I know most personally. It's the the Buffalon Bills versus the Dunsparsenal, coached by Llama.
Yeah, this match was
a very long and boring match for the first half. If you really want to watch a long and boring match of double switches and bolt switching and very Wild Chase-esque old-fashioned playing, now this is the match for you, because really nothing happens in the beginning at all.
Well, you pretty much, I wouldn't say counter-teamed, but I don't think you had a problem with any of his Pokemon in particular. You always had a switch, you always had something to deal with it.
Except for that Scarf Bisharp.
Scarf Bisharp was
threat and a half.
Yeah, it was...
I was not prepared for that at
predictable.
all. My plans to handle Bisharp were a Toxicroak that outsped even Jolly Bisharp, and a Zoroark who outspeeds obviously Jolly Bisharp, with Low Kick and Toxicroak having Drain Punch. He was Scarfed, I was scared shitless.
By the time he'd revealed it was Scarfed and it outsped the Toxicroak, though, it was too late by that point.
To be fair, I already known it earlier because my Celebi was speed creeping Jolly Bisharp as well. So I already knew that earlier on.
So you knew that, and how did you play around that then? How did you play around it with that in mind?
Well, I knew that he was locked in pursuit that turn, so I went into Toxicroak to scare him out. And I just knew from that point on I had to keep a variety of things so that I could have something that could always take a dark hit and a steel hit, no matter what.
Okay.
Because if I didn't have something for both of those and he could lock himself in, he outsped my team, and my priority just wouldn't hit it hard enough.
Another one of the standout mons in this match was Jake's Lantern, which with Bolt Absorb, it just he made some nasty plays on the Magna Zone to heal back up, and it chipped away at the Clefable very well.
It was just momentum, really. It was an Assault Vest max defense, max special defense, with I think a calm nature. It was pure bulk. It was just to get me momentum. It had no real offensive power. It had no real ability to do anything. It was just a wall to give me momentum. And it worked really well stalling things like Magna Zone. And the beginning of the match is really just Lantern going, and then him swapping into his Seismitoad and taking chip damage, which probably is the most important early play.
Yeah, kept switching to Seismitoad to take the chip, but all those chips add up and it went down eventually.
Turn 1, I got up Rocks with Celebi because I knew he had nothing. None of his 6 Pokemon he brought can get rid of Rocks. And even though his team has something that could have been immune, 4 resists and just 1 neutral to Rocks, they really did swap the favor of the game into my favor.
Yeah, especially when you're pressuring so many switches.
Exactly. So it really does go to show you that you cannot deny that a spinner or a defogger really is something you want to include in your team whenever possible. You just... it's just something you have to have.
They're very useful, yeah.
Even if it's a weak one, it's at least something to get rid of those hazards, which really put pressure on his team. And again, it also shows you that if you bring a really unexpected set, you can really scare your opponent. As Scarf Bisharp scared the shit out of me, until eventually Lantern was 1v1 on it, it locked itself to a move, couldn't KO, and my HP fighting popped it. So it just shows the prep really does help decide matches in a lot of these cases. If you prep well, it can be much more robotic.
This match lasted quite a while. Was Clefable. You couldn't trap it, and Gothitelle, and with was it Whirlpool Lantern?
Whirlpool on Tentacruel.
Tentacruel.
Should run Infestation, by the way, but why bring logical moves?
And you couldn't. You didn't let it get trapped.
Yeah.
Also, with Gothitelle, it meant he could never bring in Sork, and when he did, it was fodder for Gothitelle.
I think I controlled the flow of the match for a lot of this match, and him revealing his secret going for Pursuit early on, which I don't think he knew he was revealing, but I was sped-crept, so I knew it immediately once he trapped Celebi.
Yeah. You prepped for one set, and once you knew it wasn't that, you knew what it was.
Because I used Baton Pass, and if you don't know, Baton Pass lets you escape a Pursuit if you're faster. So...
this match is essentially you chipping away at his team, and eventually it all comes down.
Yep, eventually Lantern just kind of walls enough of his team and just chips away and kills him. So, my MVP for the week was a fish that had no attack investment. Got half the kills.
The electric angler fish.
This is definitely a week, if even if the scores are kind of mundane, you have some really interesting MVPs this week. We have a bunny that gets 6 kills, and an Assault Vest wall that gets 3 kills. So, interesting week of battles. But enough of that. We're going into the battle of McCann, coach of the Greenville Growliths, versus the Richie, coach of the Live Wormhole. I have no idea how to say that either. Live Wormhole? Is that how it is?
Yeah, that's right. That's correct.
What's Live? I don't know. Whatever. Live Wormhole FC. My bad. And this match, I think, shows one of the flaws of McCann's drafts. He just doesn't have speed or power. His draft is so bulky.
Yeah, he has a lot of bulk, but he doesn't have that much to hit hard apart from the Dragonite and the Mew, which can set up. And this week he brought a interesting choice for his wall breaker, which was a Specs Sylveon, if I'm correct. However, with Richie using a Mega Venusaur and a Skarmory, it didn't really help him at all with a Specs Sylveon. It couldn't hurt much of his team.
Specs Sylveon for certain teams could rip it apart to shreds, but it's an interesting choice against Richie's team, in my opinion.
Well, Richie has one of the bulkiest teams in the whole draft, if not the bulkiest.
Yeah.
But the difference between...
too.
Yes, in terms of bulk. However, Richie's hits harder, in my opinion.
Yes, it does. He drafted some more power. And I think the other mistake McCann made was he sacked off his only real fast mons early on.
Yes, Mew and Xatu.
Which were his only real ways to outspeed things like Nidoking. And both were Psychic types, which could have beaten the Mega Venusaur.
Yeah.
So I question why that happened, or maybe there were some surprise scarfs there. I'm pretty sure Mew was scarfed and Nidoking was scarfed, which surprised McCann getting a pop on Zadu from Nidoking. But I don't know. There's some weird stuff going on in the beginning of that match that I don't quite understand. I think some of them were scarfed and they didn't expect it because they're almost like trading mons in the beginning, and then it reaches a point where McCann has basically 4 Pokemon versus most of Richie's squad that just walls them to hell and back.
Yes, essentially.
Trying to use an Alamola to heal up to either heal up Dragonite or Mega Aggron. Mega Aggron being a very hard to kill Pokemon, by the way, especially once both Nidoking and Infernape were gone. But eventually, Richie's prep with Leech Seed helped chip away at it enough that he could kill it.
Yeah, and he kept putting it to he put it to sleep eventually, and Infernape can deal with. It's one of the few things that can hit it hard enough so it'll die.
Yeah. So,
also, once Mew was down, Venusaur was always going to be tricky to take out from then on.
well, yeah, he was still Zadu, but Zadu went down 5 seconds after, so it was definitely going to be a hard thing to bring out. I'm not quite sure what set the Dragonite was, but it was Sub, which is a very interesting choice in my opinion for a Dragonite, but since you lose your best ability intentionally.
Mm-hmm.
And it didn't seem like he had Roost because he never went for it. Maybe I'm mistaken there, but I don't quite know what that set was, but it doesn't seem like it paid off too well. But then again, it did get an Extreme Speed kill and an Infernape, so it did something.
Yeah. Extreme Speed proving its worth.
Extreme Speed's a really good priority, people.
Priority is very useful in this league.
Yes, it is. But again, I think McCann plays much better later on in the game. But like I said, at that point, he just really had nothing for Venusaur. So it doesn't matter if you're playing really good double switches and really good mind games. Richie has the benefit if he can just kind of play safely and robotically almost.
I think once Mew and Anzatu were down, he didn't have much. McCann didn't have much of an offensive presence.
The other thing was, what was ever going to kill Skarmory? Like, I can't think of anything unless he had like a cursed plus 20 Mega Aggron. So
yeah, or Dragonite will end Fire Punch, I believe.
Doesn't do that much unless it gets up a lot.
No.
And Skarmory also can have Whirlwind, so you might not even be able to set up on it. So I think this kind of just revealed that McCann might need to get a bit more speed or power on his draft, and maybe prep somewhat a little differently. And it also just shows that Richie's draft is demonically bulky.
Yes. It's Richie's draft. There's not much it can't deal with. It has one. I think it has one type weakness.
I think it's Rock, if I remember correctly.
Yes. It's not that it can't wall it. It's just it's the least walled of the types.
That's an accomplishment somehow,
Yeah.
to some people.
So Richie takes the win against McCann, with Skarmory and Venusaur not even being troubled by the end of it.
That match pained me to watch a bit because it's just Venusaur winning because of Leech Seed, really.
Yeah, McCann played well. He played well, but his team
just wasn't ready for it.
Yeah, once the teams were revealed, there was not much he could have done.
So that moves on to what my friend here's match versus the Canberra Zygarde, coached by Zars.
Yeah, I'm against Bob.
A.k.a. Bob, a.k.a. a bunch of other names like Call Me 911. But he's the guy who created this league, so... What do you have to say about it, Sasha? Looking back at it, or what would you have done differently, or what are you thinking messed up?
I wish he hadn't led with Nido Queen, so I could have Mega T1 with Minetric, which would have helped me later on in the match, like especially against the Gyarados and it would have helped me later on.
Okay.
Also, Reuniclus was annoying for me this match, as I think I might have been able to win with Cresselia if he hadn't brought Reuniclus, or at least brought Reuniclus without Shadow Ball.
Yeah, that's definitely a possibility. But it seems like his Flareon was also made to handle Cress as well, because its Flare Blitz could break your Summon into Toxic, so I think that might have been made to handle it.
Yeah,
but it did die to Cresselia, ironically.
Mm-hmm.
You also do have to admit, that Toxic Mist did actually go in your favor a lot.
Yes, it did. I don't think I might have brought the God of War I brought this week. I'm not sure if I brought it with Heal Bell or if it was a screen set. But yeah, Toxic Mist could have it would have affected later on.
For sure.
It was just it was annoying as well that the Flare Blitz, he must have calced it that it did more than 25%, so it got past the substitute.
Exactly.
And otherwise I could have set up early and it might have been a 6-0.
Possibly.
Yeah, it didn't turn out
We're on
that
a
way in the
stretch,
end.
but you never know.
Mega Manetric didn't get to Mega until it was too late.
I think the
And
other big play you made that you mistaked was shows that you really need to know your opponent's Pokemon stats, not roughly, but well. Was a +1 Mega Gyarados' base 81 speed, and he was Jolly, and your Gardevoir was not fast enough, even if Scarfed, at base 80.
yeah, it was.
That one trolley speed point.
Yeah, it was a shame. I brought the Scarf Gardevoir for Gyarados, but it's a shame it
You really had to
wasn't
do your math
enough.
on speeds, especially.
Mm-hmm.
Which I think that's something you learned from this match.
Yes. So mid-match, Gardevoir comes in, and I think by this point, I'm just trying to save face with Manectric and Gardevoir gone. I didn't have much way of winning because of, well, Hydreigon hits and Nidoqueen, they hit very widely
Yes,
in
they did.
terms
They're
of
very hard to
lethal.
take to swap into.
Hardly, yeah, they hit hard as well, and yeah, I think like 3 of my Mons died within 6 turns
Now,
mid-match.
I know this almost sounds silly to critiquing Zard since he won, but he could have had a 3-0 this match easily. And even said it to me about 10 seconds after this match because I watched it right afterwards. He made one misplay near the end. When you only had Scissor left, Sasha, he easily should have swapped out Reinculus. He had no reason not to go into Nidoqueen. At all.
Yeah, yeah, because I wouldn't have been able to take it out, I don't
You
think.
would not have been able to KO that with any move. The only thing I
No.
think you might have had a chance was if you were Specs or Life Orb HP Psychic Technician. Like, there was
Yeah.
no reasonable fear of him going into Nidoqueen, which I think is something that other players in this league need to adapt to as well. It's not just winning. When you win, you want to get that differential win.
Yeah.
This could have been a
Look,
3-0.
it could have been a 3-0, but I was also wondering why he switched at that point, because maybe he just wanted to guarantee the win, but the win was already in the bag with that setup Reuniclus.
Exactly. There was nothing that you could have done at that point in time. So he could have had that 3-0 and he trashed it, which I think is a few things I think we've seen since, where a few members just aren't quite used to that mindset yet. This isn't Smogon where winning is all that matters. It's how much you win by.
Yes.
A 3-0 beats a 2-0. It's not the same thing anymore, so. And it's also not just for bragging rights. It might help you get into the playoffs or the end game, the end of the league games. It's also bragging rights, but, they matter. It's what the take-home message is. And that only really leaves us with one match left. That's a battle between J-Bro and the Texas Savage Taurus, coached by Nacho. Now, this battle's very interesting.
Yeah.
It looks like a 3-0, but it honestly could have been a lot different if we didn't get a lucky crit near the end, to be honest.
Yeah, it could have been a 5-0.
Yeah, it could have been a 5 or a 4-0, depending on how many Pokemon took to take down Mega Scissor. But a lucky crit on Crobat did help a lot, and that's not deniable.
You could call it lucky. He put in quite a few bullet punches by that point.
But it's still a crit. It's still a crit, and it was not
Still a
like
crit at
something
the end of the
you were
day.
prepared for.
No.
And the other problem, really, Nacho made a few really good plays between Roserade and the Rotom-Mow.
Yeah, made some nice trick predictions
tricks.
on the Motum.
But other than that, he didn't really have to make anything that amazing of a play. His team was so well prepared to handle J-Bros, or maybe J-Bros just wasn't prepared to handle Nachos, whichever way you want to look at it. I think the biggest problem for his prep is J-Bro just didn't bring the most optimal sets.
Yes. Especially with Drapion and Scissor.
For Scissor, he brought Bullet Punch, U-Turn, Defog, and Aerial Ace. I can think of 3 better moves to use than Aerial Ace. Would have been Roost, Knockoff, and what was the other one? Roost, Knockoff, and Swords Dance. Any of those would have helped him more. I don't really know why he brought Aerial Ace, because he would have. The only thing that's really going to hit hard that I can think of on his whole draft is Roserade, which is hit plenty hard by his other moves. There was no need to bring
Roserade isn't particularly physically bulky. And a U-turn would have,
bulky, but it's not physically.
yeah, and a U-turn would have done a lot of damage.
Regardless.
Yeah.
Knockoff would have been really helpful for Aegislash and just to spam on the team. Swords Dance might have helped to get a sweep if Aegislash finally died. And last but not least, Roost would have really helped boost its longevity. Which, since he brought a bulky build and no way to recover on it, and it can't even have leftovers because it's a Mega, it's very questionable in my opinion. The other set I really think could have been better was the Drapion set. It's another bulky, this one has SD, had I think Taunt for the filler move, Then it brought dual stab and cross poison and crunch. I don't know why he didn't bring knockoff over crunch, because I know he had a lot of knockoff already, and we're saying bring another one, but knockoff's knockoff. It's good. There's a reason people run so much of it. But the thing I really critique is he brought poison jab. Why didn't he bring EQ? Let's look at what poison jab hits better than EQ, if anything, but versus not crunch. If we're just assuming he brought crunch because he had too much knockoff as it was, they both hit Manaphy equally well. Aegis is hit harder by EQ. Well, not than crunch, but it's safer because you don't have to worry about King Shield giving you a reduction. It's going to hit Rhyperior harder. They hit Rose Ray equally. They hit Gallade equally, but slight nods to poison jabs. It doesn't give him a boost in attack. And crunch hits harder than poison jab on Crobat no matter what.
Yeah.
The standard Drapion set in RU is, if you're running 2 attacks, is SD sub EQ knockoff. There's a reason for that. It's a very good set. It's hard to swap into that coverage. And while Dark Poison's good coverage, in this case, Dark Ground's even better.
So, along with there were a few plays with Rotom Mo that could have been perhaps differently. He went for Leaf Storm twice and then the first time he went for Leaf Swarm, Crobat was switched in, and he went for it again. Crobat was switched in again. He could have maybe predicted and gone for a Volt switch. Perhaps scared of the Rhyperior switch in, but at this point, I think his team wasn't stronger than Nacho, so he would have had to make some risky plays.
He had to go for big for the money, and I think if he just threw some Will-O-Wisp, he might have seen some better results.
Yes, Will-O-Wisp on the Road to Mo could have been abused a bit more, especially with
not a 50-50. That's really going to hinder Crobat, and that's really going to hinder Rhyperior.
Aegis, Gallade, and Rhyperior. Those are 3 things that really do not appreciate a Will-O-Wisp.
So he really had a lot of things that did not want a Will-O-Wisp. The only thing that might have wanted it was maybe Manaphy or Roserade, but who's going to swap Manaphy in on a Road to Mo? That's a bit crazy even for me. So I think J-Bro just has to prep a little bit more effectively and bring the best he can bring, not just what looks easier to bring or what he thinks, and just try and really bring the best sets he can possibly bring from the most Pokemon. Maybe he had a reason for Aerial Ace, but I think he said later that he regretted bringing it, to be honest. Which is why I was just so harsh on that one move.
And that's the last battle of week 2.
That it is. That wraps this up. Not quite yet. But
no, we're still a few weeks behind.
We had some good battles this week. I think I give the nod to Kino versus L-Scissors, the most interesting and the best played. Just so well played on both sides, and just it's really funny seeing Pokemon get 6 kills. And still not be a blowout. It was a very close 2-0.
Yeah. It was a Pokemon got 6 kills without it being a domination.
Which is just really interesting.
Yeah.
But there were some good memories this week, like Assault Vest Lantern and... What was the other one? Meloetta, Assault Vest Meloetta. This might have been also the week of Odd Assault Vest paying off. But,
yeah,
that was fun. It's good, always fun to do these recaps. What do you guys think? Do you agree with us? Do you disagree with us? Do you think we're too harsh? Do you think we're too lenient? Do you think we were possibly being too biased or unobjective? What do you guys think? We're absolutely curious. And we'll be getting our next video up very soon. We hopefully get out this week, so we can all be caught up in just doing these week by week. You'll get one a week shortly after the battles, which go up on Fridays. But I've been Jake. This has been...
Sasha.
That's his name. I forgot it. Sorry. You're not important, I guess.
Oh, no one cares.
And we're going to be signing off now. Thank you very much. Have a great day, and hope to see you again very soon.